What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. This is part 2 of our review of the NBA GM survey. This is the survey that they give out to all the GMs at the beginning of the season just to get their intake. Like, hey, who do you think is the best player in the league? Who's the best small forward? Who do you think the best coach is? Like, all these types of different things, and we get to see the survey results. But yeah, just a reminder, there is a part 1 of this video, so make sure you guys go watch it, but otherwise, let's jump into it. A quick reminder that we are also doing a survey of you guys. I think it's a pretty cool thing. Basically, if you guys go down into the description, you'll see this link that I have right here. If you go and click this, we're asking you guys the exact same questions, and we'll be reviewing the answers to what you guys all give in a future video. I want to thank again Matrix. You can find him on our Discord and everything. He put this together. And again, just go join the Discord. We're talking about stuff all the time, as you can see here, people bringing up some cool stuff, and we're just chatting it up all the time. New people are joining all the time. It's really exciting. So hey, Discord is always in the description as well. But anyway, let's get back into talking about the survey results. We finished up with like defensive things last time. We're apparently on to the coaches section here, and this probably will be the last part of this like video series. I don't know what we call it, the review of this. I think I'll only do 2 parts. But anyway, who is the best head coach in the NBA? 69% of GMs said Eric Spoelstra from Miami. A quick reminder that GMs cannot vote for like anything having to do with their own team, so that way it remains as unbiased as it can be. But yeah, 69% of people say Spoelstra. I'd have to imagine most of us agree with that. Not surprised to see Daigneault jump up a bunch this year. A lot of people still saying Steve Kerr. I would feel like a lot of opinions on Kerr have changed a little bit. Like there's always going to be like that's Steve Kerr, right? I mean, he's won how many of the recent championships, right? But I think there's starting to be a little bit of like skepticism in like the development internally at Golden State, because like they just haven't been able to like grow any of this like high level talent that they've had come through. High level talent, I mean, we nobody knows at the end of the day, but guys that seem like they have some potential. Budenholzer also received votes. That's interesting. Chris Finch, not a surprise with what he did with Minnesota. Surprised not to see at least like some Popovich votes or something like that, but nonetheless, that's who we kind of expect. Which head coach is the best manager or motivator of people? Yep, Eric Spoelstra, who I would have said again. Steve Kerr. Manager of people? I don't know, considering he has 2 guys on his team actively requesting trades, and like Kuminga and Moody. Actively is probably a bit of a hyperbole at this point, but at points they did. Joe Mazzulla, that doesn't surprise me. Greg Popovich, yeah. Doc Rivers, I would actually agree with this. That's where Doc Rivers usually tends to thrive a little bit. Jason Kidd, Daigneault is on there. Mike Malone, that one doesn't surprise me a ton. Tom Thibodeau gets a lot out of his guys, so he certainly keeps them motivated. Last year, people had Spoelstra again at like the same percentage, so not as many people believe he's the best manager or motivator of people, which that's kind of surprising. I feel like that's even more so a Spoelstra thing, but to each their own. Which head coach makes the best in-game adjustments? This one's kind of hard for me to determine. I feel like I can't know this stuff without like really being in the huddle. Like I can watch a game and realize like, okay, like they've switched up their coverages and stuff like that, but like just a little bit of insight to you guys, because I've been in these like huddles, right? And I've been some of the one, sometimes I'm the guy making the adjustments on the staffs that I've been on, because I like to think I'm pretty good with X's and O's and stuff like that. A lot of times, like, these adjustments are pre-planned. Sometimes we plan to give second looks, like, at halftime or something like that. And so this one's a hard one for me to judge, but I'm curious to see. Tyronn Lue, it's not who would have come to mind, but interestingly enough, I mean, 28% of people. Then they have Spoelstra again. Honestly, again, not who would have come to mind. Daigneault, we didn't see, like, a ton of adjustments out of him, and from what I hear, that's actually somewhat intentional. They very much kept a very simple offense last year because they have so many young guys in the NBA, so interesting. Rick Carlisle in Indiana, didn't feel like they did a ton of crazy stuff. Taylor Jenkins, I might have thought of. Nick Nurse is probably the first one that would have come to my mind. Chris Finch, maybe defensively. I would say that Will Hardy's he's one of the first people that came to my mind as well, is Will Hardy. I think Will Hardy's a brilliant young mind in the coaching world. And then Mike Malone again. So again, that one I think is hard to tell for the most part. I'm kind of surprised to not see like a Mike Brown in here for like all the different offensive things he does, but offense, here we go. Which head coach runs the best offense? Rick Carlisle. I mean, does he really? Okay, so this is an interesting one. So like, I don't think Indiana ran a very complicated offense last year. They just very much recognized the team that they had and just kind of let them play like very fast-paced basketball. And like, look, they had one of the best offenses the NBA's ever seen. And yes, like offenses are just kind of getting better and better and better, and the rules are favoring things more. But like, yes, they had the best offense last year, so I guess that makes sense. But is that really like a good coach running it, or is that just him not getting in the way? Maybe it's both. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. As always, like, please leave your likes, comments, subscribe, do all those things. I know I didn't say that at the beginning of this video, but the comments, I respond to every single comment on my YouTube channel, so I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Joe Mazzulla, I wouldn't say like they run like a very standard like offense. Like they've got everything you need in it. And so that's what I'd say about that. Chris Finch, not even close. No shot. Their offense was garbage last year to watch. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest with you. Steve Kerr, yep, you got to put them in there. It is a great system. Daigneault, it's pretty basic in my opinion. Mike Malone, yeah, I'd say that one's pretty good. Nick Nurse, I don't know how much of it is like Joel Embiid like affecting it. Like Mike Brown is who I would have said. Yeah, no, Mike Brown. There we go. Last year, so that's who I would have thought of. I feel like Mike Brown is one. Definitely Malone. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that we're really missing. I don't necessarily think so, but Mike Brown is who I probably would have thought of first, and then like maybe like Mazzulla, Steve Kerr, guys like that. So whatever. Which head coach has the best defensive schemes? Okay, Spoelstra towards the top, but Chris Finch and Thibodeau not far behind. That doesn't surprise me at all. I'd probably say Finch first last year. I mean, I don't know. I thought they ran some brilliant things defensively, except, okay, you know what? Actually, no, they get to fall off. Was Finch actually like the coach at this point of the season when he like got hurt? So it might have been someone else. But when they put Rudy Gobert in that playoff game, when Luka hit that shot, all of us were screaming, and they were like, if they have Rudy in the game right now and they switch on the pick, like Luka's gonna hit the step back game or game winner. And that's exactly what happened. That was one of the dumbest coaching decisions I had ever seen, and I'm not exaggerating. That was so blatantly obvious. I couldn't believe it. But anyway, it is what it is. Joe Mazzulla, Daigneault, oh yeah, Jamal Mosley should probably be up there. Udoka, I don't know. That one was hard to tell because I felt like they were doing the right things a lot of the times, but they just didn't have the personnel for it. So it's kind of hard for me to evaluate. But yeah, no, Mosley should have been up there, like Finch for sure. Thibodeau as always. So those are kind of the names I think of. Which new or relocated head coach will make the biggest impact on the new team? I'm not surprised that they have Budenholzer here, but I disagree. I don't think Budenholzer and like, look, all these guys are way better coaches than I am at the end of the day. I mean, look at what they've done versus what I've done. I mean, I've only ever been like an assistant at that level, or not even that, like player development, I guess is what you'd call it, which is kind of an assistant. But regardless, Kenny Atkinson, that's a name I really like. I'm big on Kenny. I thought he was a great head coach in Brooklyn. So I'd put him again above Bud. I don't know. I feel like Bud really gets stuck in his ways, and there's such a balance with coaching. Maybe I'm talking too much during this segment, and you guys don't care about the coaches as much, but I'm a coach, so this is what I do. There's a balance between knowing when to adjust and like still standing firm at the same time, because you don't want to give up on your game plan that you work so hard on just after like a few miscues or something like that. Sometimes it takes a team a while, but like Bud like never adjusts, and it's so frustrating. I love Atkinson though. Not sure how to feel about Bickerstaff. I mean, he's turned around bad teams and made him solid before. Charles Lee is who I would have said as my first option. I think Charles Lee is going to be really good for Charlotte. I think he's got him in a good spot. And then they have Fernandez and then JJ Redick. So last year's Udoka. That's not necessarily a surprise. But yeah, these are the coaching options. I do think Charles Lee in Charlotte is going to do a decent job. I've just heard a lot from him. I don't have great connections like directly to him, but indirectly I've got some, and people speak very highly of him. So shout out Charlotte fans, man. Who is the best assistant coach in the NBA? Not surprised to hear Sam Cassell. I would have, my first thought was Pablo Prigioni in Minnesota. I don't know. I've gotten to like interact there a couple times, and I don't know. I think he's awesome. Nori from Minnesota. I mean, I guess, yeah, fair enough. Sweeney in Dallas, Chris Quinn in Miami, yeah. Jeff Van Gundy, I forgot, like, was Jeff Van Gundy there last year? I don't remember that being the case. Was he there last year? Also receiving votes, Aldman from Denver, Pat Delaney. Like, this is obviously just going to be who people know. DeMarco, Lindsey Harding, just no idea. Like, not, I know who she is, but, like, I don't know how she is as a coach. It's been a long week, y'all. It's been a long week. Juwan Howard, I guess we'll see. Royal Ivy, I don't know. Just looking at like the rest of this, Terry Stotts. Didn't Terry Stotts stop being an assistant coach? Where is he at now? Terry Stotts is back in Golden State. Okay, I don't pay attention to the assistant coaches quite as much. I don't have a ton to say about this. Which active players will make the best head coach someday? That's a great question. Chris Paul, yeah, my first thought would have been like LeBron James, honestly. But I guess, yeah, Chris Paul feels like he'd be a good one. Garrett Temple, yeah, that feels like Mike Conley, yeah, they just, TJ McConnell, I have no clue. Fred VanVleet, I have no clue. Harrison Barnes is a surprising name, maybe. Bradley Beal, yeah, Bradley Beal's really articulate, so I could see that. Brunson, Drew Holiday's a name for sure. Al Horford, he feels like he'd have a good coaching presence. Tyus Jones, Kyle Lowry. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Miscellaneous things. Which team is the most fun to watch? The Indiana Pacers, just because they're fast? I would completely disagree. I'd say it. And look, this one's completely subjective, right? Completely subjective. I have no metrics or anything to manage fun, even though I consult for a company that actually does do stuff like this, so it's kind of an interesting statistical realm to dive into. But the San Antonio Spurs is who I would probably say is like first. My Chicago Bulls hurt me to watch right now, so they shouldn't be on the list. Like Oklahoma City, yep, that'll be a fun one. Denver, just because of Jokic, yep. Golden State, you never know when Curry's going to do something crazy. Like Dallas is going to be a big one for me. I like watching Luka. Lakers, I'm not really that keen on watching. The Suns, I'll be curious to watch them, but like, I don't know, what other teams do you guys want to watch? I'm curious to hear, outside of like your favorite teams, obviously. Like, I like watching young teams a lot too, as long as they're not like completely being mismanaged, like the Wizards or something like that. Like, I'm going to be really interested to watch like the Houston Rockets or something like that this year. So that's my idea. Which team has the best home court advantage? The Denver Nuggets. I figured this would be almost unanimously the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's what I would have said. I'd tell you the Bulls if they were good, man. The Bulls sell out every single year, and that's why their owner doesn't actually get them anything nice ever, because they'll just keep selling tickets. Boston Celtics, yeah, I'd probably say that. The Knicks, yeah, that's a good one. The Utah Jazz, you don't want to hear some of the words that those fans say. Sorry, Jazz fans. Sacramento Kings, yeah, no, those Kings fans, they love their stuff when they're good. So, no, I would agree with that. I'd agree with that. Which team will have the league's most efficient offense this season? Boston Celtics seem like a fair one. Indiana, maybe. I could see Oklahoma City having a pretty efficient one, especially like when someone like Shea has the ball as much as he does and he's so efficient. That makes it easier. Dallas, because they're just going to do the same thing every game. I could see that. The Knicks, I don't feel like are a very obvious choice, nor are the Suns. So kind of interesting. Last year was the Nuggets, and they don't even like appear on the list this year. No KCP. Yeah, they've got kind of a desolate bench at the moment. So that hurts things a little bit. Which team's level of success this season is toughest to predict? Lakers, yep, I would say. Houston is who my number one would have been. New Orleans would probably be my number two. Phoenix, I don't know. I don't really think so, just because it's a health question, if nothing else. So I think if they're healthy, they're going to be really good, and if they're not, then they're not, right? The Dallas Mavericks, no, I don't necessarily think so. Sixers, no, I feel pretty good about where they're at, and then basically every other team it looks like fell in here. Last year was Philly. Yeah, I could see that. I could see why Philly would have been a question last year. Which team has the most promising young core? Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, yeah, 60% of that, yeah, their team is very, very interesting, and they always develop good talent, so that's probably fair. My first thought was the Spurs, just because they have Wemby, and, like, that alone might be enough, right? But no, they've got other interesting players, like, I like Keldon Johnson, I like Trey Jones, I like Vassell a ton, I like Stephon Castle, so I think there's some cool names there. But anyway, the Orlando Magic, yeah, I'm concerned that they're not growing this team in a proper way, but we'll see, right? At the end of the day, Paolo and Franz are awesome. The Houston Rockets, yeah, they have so many young pieces. They're trying to figure out. Detroit, yeah, I mean, Cade and Duran, Asar, I love those guys. I love those guys, so I would agree. And then last year, Oklahoma City as well, so no, that sounds about right. Which player is the most athletic? Ooh, Interesting. So, okay, I would have said Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson was going to be my first one, and then Asar is number 2. I think that those guys are it. Anthony Edwards as a third feels appropriate. Giannis being up there feels appropriate. Ja. Bam. Yeah, I could see Bam. I could see Bam being... I'm not trying to say those guys like aren't athletic. Jalen Green is stupid athletic. Yeah, Jonathan Kuminga, that's not necessarily who I would have thought of. He just jumps really high. Zion definitely deserves to be on the list. So, yeah, no, I see that. But yeah, no, I'd give it to Amen Thompson. I feel like that's clear with his brother not being far behind. I think those two are such crazy athletes. It's not even funny. Anyway, which player is the best pure shooter? Steph Curry, 87%. Also receiving votes, Kevin Durant. I would have said Kevin Durant. Personally, that's just who I would have said, but apparently I'm in an extreme minority with this one. I just think he's the best pure offensive player we've ever seen in basketball. That's what I'll say about Kevin Durant. Maybe that's controversial, maybe not, but I don't know. Luke Kennard, shout out Luke Kennard, man. I dig it. Trey Murphy, okay, fair enough. And then Klay Thompson, okay, fair enough. I think it's purely between Curry and Durant. I think some of the extraordinary things fall under Curry, but just like pure shot making, put ball in hoop via jump shot, I think it's Kevin Durant. That's just me. But last year was even more so Steph Curry. So I don't know. Which player is the fastest with the ball? If you didn't answer De'Aaron Fox, I can tell you as someone that's been on the other end of it, it's De'Aaron Fox. That dude is like a bullet coming out of a gun. Oh my gosh. And if you guys have questions about that, my experience with that, just I didn't want any piece of that. Anyway, Ja Morant, yeah, that feels like another one. I probably would have put Maxey in front of him. Kyrie, yep, as well. But surprised, only 52% De'Aaron Fox. I don't even think it's close. I'd say Russell Westbrook, when he gets going, is still up on that list, honestly. So trying to think of like who else that could really be. Trey Mann has looked pretty quick. He's more so shifty so far, but no, that feels like a pretty appropriate list, at least for this year. Which player is the best at moving without the basketball? Who said anything but Steph Curry? You jerks. Desmond Bain, yeah, but it's Steph Curry. Like, no, it's not even close. It should just be like all but one team said Steph Curry. Mikal Bridges, sure. No, I don't disagree with that. CJ McCollum, I feel like he had the ball so much last year. It was hard for me to tell. Klay Thompson is another one that should be up there. Yeah, Duncan Robinson is really, really good at it, so I'd agree with that as well. But Steph Curry was only 73% last year. Why? Who else were y'all voting for? I don't know, y'all. I don't know. And like maybe I'm overreacting to some of these things, but like that just feels like such an easy one, so I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Which player is the best passer? Nikola Jokic, yep, I think that's an obvious number 1, but I'm not going to fault you for Luka. I'm not going to fault you for Halliburton. Josh Giddey does feel like the appropriate 4th one. Who else would I say? I would say if we get back to healthy, I'd put Lonzo Ball number 1. I think Lonzo Ball was like that good, but again, this is going into this year, so I don't know, but you guys could fill it out on the survey. Again, a quick reminder, go fill out the survey. It's down in the description right now. Just go do it. It's fun. It's 50 questions. You get to answer it. I'll give you guys the results later. It's fun. But yeah, I would have put Lonzo on there in terms of like vision and everything. Like I think Ben Simmons still has great court vision. That's another guy that I would immediately think of. So, but yeah, no, Jokic, Luka, Halliburton, Giddey, those feel like the obvious ones. Which player is the best leader? Okay, so I don't know how to completely determine this. Again, and maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but this is because I've just been in locker rooms, right? I've actually been in the locker rooms and stuff, and I've only been in like a handful of NBA locker rooms. I'm not going to give you an exact number. I don't want to give too much detail on that stuff. But so I've only seen certain players like take leadership spots and everything, and so I'm going to refrain from giving my own personal take on these, but Steph Curry being number 1, that's not necessarily a surprise to me. Jalen Brunson, LeBron, sure, Drew Holiday, Jokic. Jokic feels like a lead by example type of guy, and then Chris Paul. Fair enough with LeBron being number 1 last year with only 27%. Interesting. It was a little more divvied up in prior years, but people say Steph Curry. That's interesting. Who would be like the first name that like comes to mind for me in terms of like NBA leaders? I don't even know like who. I'm trying to just think off like the top of my head. Like like none of like the Celtics players like stick out like a ton outside of like Drew, and I'm trying to think of like recent champions, right? Or maybe like smaller teams. I will say I've been very impressed with like Paolo Banchero and like his on-court presence in a very short amount of time. So maybe that's a player to watch out for in the coming years. But I don't know. Who's the most versatile player in the NBA? Giannis, yeah, that feels like maybe the number one. My first thought would have been Wemby. Is he on the list? Yeah, Wemby's tied for third with 10%. LeBron James, sure. I would put Kevin Durant as probably like a 2, and then maybe Giannis. Jason Tatum, yeah, Jason Tatum's pretty versatile. He does just about everything. I've called him he's the new Paul George. He's the all-star role player, is what I keep telling people. He just kind of fits where he needs to fit on a team at an all-star level. So pretty cool. And then Mikal Bridges, very cool. Also receiving votes, Bam, Drew Holiday. I don't know if I'd call him completely versatile. Jokic, not necessarily either. Amen Thompson, I could see falling into that. I'm glad people are recognizing how good the Thompson twins are. I'm trying to tell y'all, those two are ridiculously good. But you know, I digress for now. Which player is the best basketball IQ? Jokic, sure. I'd probably give it the nod to LeBron first, just because I've heard him talk about it more. I don't know. Jokic clearly knows what he's doing out there. Luka too. Chris Paul, Halliburton. Yeah, those feel like guys that have a good understanding. I'd even say though, sometimes like Tyrese Halliburton like doesn't like really step up in moments where I need him to step up, and maybe he's just like not that type of scorer and stuff, and he doesn't have like the skills necessarily to go get me like 30 points on a given night if I need him to. And so like I know that I'm talking about IQ right now, but sometimes IQ is keying in and being like, okay, I need to be doing this right now, right? And so I don't know, I feel like that's maybe lacking a little bit, but you know, is what it is. Which player would you want taking a shot with the game on the line? Yeah, Steph Curry, number one. After watching the Olympics this year, if you say anything else, I have a problem with you. I'll fight you in the comments over it. I will fight you. Kevin Durant, number 2. Yup. Luka, number 3. Yup. Jokic at 4. I like Dame. I like Dame before that. DeMar DeRozan, yep. I'll put DeMar DeRozan on that list as well. Shea, because he's unguardable. Kyrie Irving as well. Jamal Murray is just clutch. Like, he falls into the Joe Johnson category of this, where it's like, yeah, he just hits game winners for whatever reason. So I'll give you that one. But I'm not sure I'd put, like, Jokic up on that list. I'm not so sure. Like, DeMar, 100%. Like, Shea, 100%. Kyrie, yup. Jamal gets to be there, but I don't know if I would have thought Jokic. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that we're like evidently missing. Interestingly, no LeBron on this list. That doesn't surprise me. That's no knock on him necessarily. It's just like, look, you're looking for a pure guy of putting like the ball in the hoop. I guess like, here's the thing. If I have to go the full length of the court, I like my chances with LeBron or like Zion or something like that. Just like who's going to stop them. So kind of a different perspective at it, if you will. We must be getting towards the bottom now. This feels like a very end. Oh, this is the last question. Okay, we're getting to the end right here. What rule regarding play, schedule, draft lottery, playoff format, roster construction, etc. most needs to change? Number 1, people said roster construction. So I guess I can dive into each of these like a little bit more. First one, roster construction. Do you have to answer for like each of these? Interesting. So are these the top answers? I'm trying to figure that out. Are these the top answers for all of them? Okay, so when you guys do our survey and everything, because I didn't know this is how this question was like structured and everything, I guess answer each factors of these regarding play, schedule. Like these are all separate answers that fall into one final question. So, and then just etc. whatever else is a thing. Anyway, roster construction. Apron rules / trade math is too restrictive or should be indexed to teams' market. Ooh, interesting. Okay, so basically the GMs are saying that the aprons are too difficult to actually get things done. I disagree for the time being. I think it makes things more interesting, and I think it makes you like really think about everything that you do and makes things feel more final and permanent. So I personally like it. But when they're saying it should be indexed to the team's market, They're saying that aprons should fall to different amounts for different teams. Like the Celtics have like all the money, right? Like they've got a ton of money, big market, a lot of money always coming in. So they're saying that their apron should be higher than like the Charlotte Hornets or something like that, who have a very small market and not as much money. Like their apron should be different, and in turn would make their apron lower. So I don't personally like dig that. I like that it's even for everybody. I think it's going to promote the not as good teams or the smaller market teams to float towards the top. So that's why I like that one. Okay, talking about schedule, fewer games and or back-to-backs. I mean, sure. 82 games is a long season. The season does feel a little bit long at times. I mean, I can even see it with like views on the channel, right? I mean, I know like a lot of us that are watching right now, we're the sweats, right, that are watching it during the preseason. But there's certainly peaks and valleys to like my views and stuff, and that seems to correlate to general interest in basketball and the NBA basketball on YouTube. I've gone and compared to a lot of other channels, and much bigger than myself, obviously, because I see the same valleys and stuff. But I don't know, less games, yeah, maybe. I love the in-season tournament. I think that's a great way to kind of get people going a little bit earlier. I think it's fun. But yeah, I'm not going to tell you that maybe there shouldn't be a few less games or something like that. I know that messes with like stats and everything, but maybe players would be healthier. I don't know. Game flow, reduce stoppages and replay reviews. Yep, I would agree with that. Like, the refs shouldn't be like watching things on the monitor or anything like that. I don't like that. There should just be like someone in New York that is just watching the play, that just knows the rules and can watch it a couple times and then make the call down and be like, yep, this is the call. And that's what they do. Or change to G League. Wait, what? Game flow, reduce stoppages and replay reviews, or change to G League, one free throw rule. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that, the one free throw rule. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't been like super in touch with like how the G League has been like, because the G League is where they experiment with like a lot of rules. So if you guys know what this is, I'm not completely aware. I know they sometimes do like the one free throw thing. Like, are these separate? I don't know. I'm very confused by this one. So if you guys understand it, you guys explain. Playoff format. Seed 1 to 16, or let top seeds choose opponents. If you let the top seed choose your opponent, that would be awesome. I'm trying to think, like, could you imagine like how sick it would be? How sick it would be if like the number 1 team calls out the number 2 team like first round. Like everyone on the internet would be like, oh shit, like, oh man, that'd be amazing. Like the Celtics call out like the Knicks round 1 or something like that, and everyone's like, oh man, the Celtics are gonna look so dumb if they lose. Or like if they call them out and whoop them first round, like that's just cold as hell. Like people would remember that for forever. I've never heard that idea before. I love that idea. Does it actually make sense practically? Probably not, but for a street kid like me, like that's how I grew up. That sounds pretty cool. That sounds really, really cool. Seed 1 through 16. I don't know. I've never really cared about that a ton. If you told me it was going to be the case, I wouldn't complain either. I just want to see good basketball being played, and if that's how you want to do the playoffs, that's how you do the playoffs. So I don't know. Free agency before the draft. Does that make sense? I haven't really like put a ton of thought into that because I really don't care that much at the end of the day. The draft happening before free agency, so you don't always know if you're getting your guys back or anything and what you're going to need, but like there's still going to be stragglers going into the draft. No, I like the idea of the draft happening first. I mean, if you guys have a good reason why or why not, you can convince me. You can convince me of anything at any time. I'm always willing to listen to people at the end of the day, but no, I like it. I like it the way it is. Return to a one-day draft. Yeah, I'll agree with that. We don't need the second round on a separate day. That's just annoying. It did make covering the draft a little bit easier from a YouTube perspective, but otherwise I don't care. Also receiving votes. Add a third round to the draft. No. Draft lottery format. Why? Like, what do you want to change about it? I think it's pretty good right now. Just like if you don't make the playoffs, you're a lottery team. Makes sense to me. Expand all-star rosters to 15 players. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Elam ending, that's the Kobe one, right? Let me confirm that. Yeah, the Elam ending is the Kobe one, where basically the clock gets shut off and whatever team is like winning, they add 8 points to it and that becomes a target score. So what are they saying that for, like overtime? That must be it. Fouls on lobs should be shooting fouls. I guess I had never thought about the fact that that wasn't the case. Yeah, I guess that's a different foul. No, I don't like, I think maybe it should be like a flagrant depending on, well, no, I guess they can interpret whether or not it is or it isn't. But I mean, no, the defensive player should have the right to go get the ball and everything while it's not a shot. And you don't know if they're going to put it up or pass it. So no, I completely disagree with that one. I'll be the first one to tell you I did a lot of jump passes and stuff like that. So that's just how I played. So I would disagree with that. Playoff eligibility for two-way players. What do you mean by that? Like, they can still be on the two-way contract, but they can, like, be on the roster? I don't know. I don't think it matters that much. Like, if enough people get hurt, they just shrink the rotation down. So I don't know. I don't think it matters that much. And then remove divisions. I think divisions are important, just because then you get to play closer opponents. So I don't know. I don't care that much at the end of the day. But yeah, that's the GM survey, y'all. That was fun. I liked going through that. I think it's cool to see like what the GMs are thinking and like where they want to go with everything. I don't know. I think it gives us some cool insight to people that are like literally living in the NBA world. I'll again remind you guys, like, go check out our survey. I hope we get enough results to where we can like accurately give some sort of breakdown or something like that. So I know I'm not the biggest community on YouTube ever, but I like to think that we've got quite a few people that care to do this stuff in their free time. But I'll give you guys a week to kind of like go through it and take your time getting to it. But yeah, no, seriously, I appreciate you guys as always. Leave me some comments, share these videos. We're getting into the season, y'all. I can't wait. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys later. Bye.